Good morning, and welcome to Unity of San Leandro Sunday morning message. We're glad you've chosen to join us this morning. This morning we have Reverend Tony Bain, who is our guest speaker. We have Sherry Anderson, who's our soloist, Reverend Aaron McCabe, who will also be a musician, and we're just glad you're with us this morning. I'm Reverend Diana McDaniel, and we will begin with our daily word this morning. Daily Word is from a little magazine that has a message every day that's published by Unity. The word for today is healing. This is Sunday, February 5th, 2023. The statement is, my faith is making me well. My faith is making me well. The message reads, Unity co-founder Myrtle Fillmore's healing journey began when she changed her mind. Inspired by the words of a healing practitioner, she took this affirmation to heart. I am a child of God, and therefore I do not inherit sickness. After 2 years of persistent health-affirming meditation, prayer, and practice, Myrtle was healed. Her faith made her well. Myrtle was healed, it says. Her faith made her well. Myrtle Fillmore lived joyously and vigorously for many years. I take inspiration from this story. I, too, am a living expression of God. I feel my body's quickening response as I claim my inheritance of divine life, vibrantly active in every cell of my body. Good nutrition, exercise, and rest support my healing practice. My faith is making me well. And the scripture from the Daily Word is from Mark chapter 5, verse 34. He said to her, daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your disease. That was our message from the Daily Word. Now I invite you to turn within and just be in a place of tuning in to that infinite spirit of wisdom as we listen to the Lord's Prayer. Mary Watkins is playing. Thank you, Mary.
Hi, this is Reverend Tony Boehm, and our lesson today is the awe, mystery, and wonder of unity. I'm so excited to share this message with you. Have you ever sat out under the stars at night, just looked up at the sky and wondered what it was all about? As you were laying there looking at this sky, did you get the feeling that you were dancing at the edge of mystery, that you were maybe allowing some greater universal force to move through you, or something like that was moving through you? Even when you didn't even understand what that meant. And then, do you remember the first time you walked into a Unity ministry? Do you remember the first lesson you ever heard? For some people, they began to cry. My first experience was in 1974. I walked in right here at Unity Village to the Activity Center. Sig Paulson was teaching and the lesson. Janie Paulson was doing the meditation. And I remember that I started crying like a baby. And I didn't understand a word Sig was saying. Not a word. But it was so exciting. It felt so right. And then years later, I read an article by Mr. Fillmore. And he says that moment of awe that we feel, and he actually used the word, when we walk into a Unity Center and we have that experience, he said that is the first tap of the mystery of the awakening of the I Am. Just a gentle nudge, he says, but it is that which moves us forward, that invites us to participate in the awakening of our soul. The I Am homecoming. You know, Unity was created as a movement by Spirit through Charles and Myrtle Fillmore. But the Fillmore's clarity, especially Charles, is that Unity was based upon first century Christ teachings. And you know, Charles called it Christianity teachings. So people get into these big arguments. Are we Christianity? What kind of Christianity are we? No, we're Christianity. We believe in that movement of spirit because Christ, friends, is an energy. It's a vibration. And that's how we take on that Christ frequency so that we too can be as Jesus Christ. We can be Tony Christ or Diana Christ or Brendolyn Christ, whatever. We have that capacity within us. So first century Christianity, spirit is not dogma. So in 1920, Mr. Fillmore left the New Thought organization over his intentionality to keep the teachings of Jesus. He saw beyond the words and the dogma of Christianity to the mystery and the mysticism that underlies it. He beheld that mystery and awe of metaphysics. He even wrote the whole metaphysical Bible interpretation, which was cutting edge and is still leading edge. And he also saw that there was a blueprint and a mystical message held within the teachings of those Gospels, the teachings that the man named Jesus unfolded to show us the process of soul evolution. Charles Fillmore saw that progressive soul evolution. He saw it as it occurs within us, and he saw the conscious progressive evolutionary spiral that we move through in consciousness. And Myrtle Fillmore said, the spark of the divine lives in each one of us. And it wants to be unfolded. That's part of that coming home when it awakens and we feel it and we sense it. In the mystery of Genesis, paraphrasing a little bit, Mr. Fillmore says, life is an ever-evolving, ever-progressive upward spiral of conscious evolution. Are you on that spiral? Are you on that spiral of conscious evolution? Because if it is, you are open to change. You are open to new things. You are open to new teachings unfolding within you and around you. Unity, through the Fillmores, hold Jesus as a master teacher and a way shower. A teacher who Mr. Fillmore says left us a hidden message that we must be spiritually awake enough, we must be spiritually quickened enough in order to hear that message. Mr. Fillmore actually saw a mystical template, a mystical blueprint for the path of the soul's evolution. He saw things like that heaven and hell are not destinations, but that they are part of the movement of how we evolve. In Unity, we don't believe in the devil as an entity that's trying to entice us away from God. We see the difference between spirit and what Mr. Fillmore calls the adverse ego. And it's the adverse ego that stirs up everything for us that we end up thinking that we're in hell. But it's actually because we're allowing the adverse ego to leave instead of divine will. You know, Mr. Fillmore says that the adverse ego keeps us stuck in the muck and mire of materiality when we could be soaring in the heavens of spirituality. So we have to know the difference between when we're getting spirit nudges and we're doing ego nags. Learn to differentiate that. That's all part of what Mr. Fillmore calls self-observation. And he says, honest self-observation is the prelude to Christ consciousness. So, you know, there are in Jesus's teachings, and the Fillmore saw this very clearly, 7 major themes. And I just want to run through those themes this morning for us as to, for me, these are the underlying themes of what Unity stands on. The first, of course, is one presence and one power. One presence and one power. You can call that presence source, you can call it energy, you can call it Buddha, you can call it nirvana, you can call it universal intelligence, whatever you want to call it God. It is one presence, one power. Now here's the key, friends. When you're really living one presence, one power, I ask you, how could anything be against that power? How could there be fear? What is there to be afraid of? 5,000 may fall at your right, 10,000 may fall at your left, but no harm shall come nigh thee, because you know the one presence and the one power. So that is part of that teaching of one presence, one power that we unfold into. The second teaching is love. Now, we all know love, but I want to add something to this that I believe Mr. Fillmore saw, and it's unconditioned love. Not love as we've been taught by our parents. You do this and I'll love you, darling. You do that and you're a bad girl. No. Unconditioned love. When we live in, there's nothing outside of us, no outside source that can condition us to be good, to be bad, to that we can love or not love. Because in unconditioned love, we live in a state of harmonic resonance. We live in balance. And when we live in balance and when we live in harmonic resonance, friends, we're not judging, we're not attached to anything, and we don't resist anything. We stand back and we go, oh, this is interesting. Look what's happening around me. This is interesting. It's a moving into a space of this is interesting versus the judging, attachments, and resistance. So it's a kind of a growing up into what I like to call our soul esteem. That when we understand the truth of who we are as that I am presence, that one power, we move into this space of harmonic resonance. The third teaching is forgiveness. It's an underpinning of the teachings of Unity. But you know, Jesus took forgiveness further than anyone else before him had taken it. In the culture and religion of the time, the law was an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Remember that woman taken in adultery who was sentenced to be stoned according to the law? You know, Jesus, did he go in and pitch a fit? No. Did he go in and say to those guys, you're wrong? No. What did he do? He walked in the midst of the circle. He bent down and he began writing in the dust. I have to ask myself, what was he doing? Well, what I would say from today and what I understand about energy, vibration, and frequency, I think he was pulling all the negativity out of the air, out of the ethers, and he was grounding it. And then when he knew that there had been a transformation of energy, he stood up and he said, "Let he who is without sin cast the first stone." Did anybody cast the first stone? No. The crowd broke up. The crowd broke up. So that's a huge, huge lesson on forgiveness, non-judgment, non-attachment, non-resistance. You know, Peter said to Jesus, can't you imagine the disciples? Sometimes they were whiners. How many times, God, Lord, how many times do we have to forgive? And Jesus said 70 times 7. Can you imagine? They went, what? 70 times 7? I don't think so. I'm not sure I can do that. In other words, Jesus is saying, forgive, forgive, forgive. Give love for anything that's happening around you. But what he's really saying is, don't be in resistance. Don't take it personally. Don't take offense in the first place. That's all how we learn to be in forgiveness. Now, here's another one. The fourth one is a great lesson that we are experiencing right here, right now in our world. The fourth lesson that's a major theme in Jesus' teachings, and I believe underpins unity, is equality. Equality. Jesus constantly broke the rules by fully accepting everybody. Can you imagine? He ate with the tax collectors and the sinners. Oh, God forbid that he would see the Christ in them. But he did. And for this, he was considered a traitor. And you know, another thing in regards to equality, women were an integral part of his ministry. There were women who followed him. We all know that in the Nag Hammadi library, those of us who've read it, we know in the Nag Hammadi library, in the Gospel of Thomas, he talks about Mary Magdalene being the one that is the receiver, the true receiver of the message. He met the Samaritan woman at the well, and he spoke with her. And that's a whole nother lesson. Jesus was accepting. Jesus was accepting. He stood for equality. And the Pharisee in the Good Samaritan asked him, define your neighbor, Jesus, define your neighbor. And he said that the Samaritan who cared for the Jewish man was the truest neighbor, because you see, Jews did not associate with Samaritans. But Jesus said, this is my truest neighbor, not the rabbi or the Jewish holishman who passed by this dying victim, but that Good Samaritan who stopped to help. You know, several years ago, I was in Hawaii teaching classes for Unity, and the people in Hawaii, the board, took me out to dinner. We're walking down the street, and I was teaching similar things of this lesson there. And we're come to this restaurant, a very fancy restaurant, so we were all dressed up. And outside the restaurant was a homeless man. And out of the blue, this homeless man comes up to me, dirty, raggy, and he says, "Oh, miss, you're so kind." He said, "Can I have a hug?" Now I'm all dressed up, ready to go into this restaurant, and suddenly I hear the voice of God say to me, "This too is one of my children." And I grabbed that man into my arms and I gave him such a hug. And he began to weep. And he looked up at me and he said, "Ma'am, I don't know who you are, but nobody has touched me for 20 years. because I'm dirty and I'm smelly. And I just looked at him and I said, you are loved, brother. You are loved. You know, it was a great lesson. I knew it was a choice point moment for me. That was a choice point moment. So if somebody asks you for a hug, you know what? Give it to them. It's not going to cost you anything. Just do it. We're all equal in the eyes of God. So the next underpinning of unity, and we know this because it's how it's founded, is healing. And healing arises out of faith. Jesus' teachings on healing, they were revolutionary. Your faith has made you whole. He says that over and over. Your faith has made you whole. It's not me. Yeah, I carry a vibration. But you were able to tap into that vibration. And you were able to be part of your own healing. It's the modern law of attraction. It's the modern law of intentionality. Jesus was a healer, but you know what? There's been healers for millenniums. It's normal. It's normal, though, for healers to take credit and continue. We have a lot of healers now, but Jesus kept insisting. The difference is Jesus kept insisting, it is not I. It is not I, but the Christ within. The same Christ we started this talking about. That same Christ is the Christ that does the healing through us. And when we learn that we are a conduit for that I am presence, for that energy, and it is that energy that goes before us to prepare the way and make straight the path and rearrange the matrix of whatever is in front of us according to their faith. Myrtle Fillmore got it, friends. She got it. She sat in that room for nearly, I know, at least a year. She sat in a room with a chair for her and a chair for Jesus. A chair for the Christ. And she read the passages of healing in the Bible over and over and over. Not that she thought Jesus was going to give her something, but until she had the full realization of wholeness, of the perfect pattern of divine life. Charles Fillmore says every cell of our being has substance, life, and intelligence. Let me metaphysically interpret that for you in part of healing. Every cell of your body, right here, right now, there's somebody in pain. There's somebody who really wants to be freed from something. Every cell of your body has substance, the energy, the divine energy that underlies all manifestation. Every cell of your body has life, the perfect pattern. And it knows, it has the intelligence. Every cell, trillions of cells, has the intelligence to take that perfect pattern of life and to change the substance structure of your body. That, friends, is healing. That is healing. Substance, life, and intelligence. And Myrtle got it. And people in Kansas City who had seen how sick she was and then saw that she was whole, they flocked. They flocked to their house. And then eventually they opened the place on 9th and Tracy. And healings happened. Healings happened. These things we do, you can do also. That's the promise. Jesus said, these things I do, you can do also. These things the Fillmores do, you can do also. You can be the place where alchemical transformation happens as you are willing to invite your consciousness, to move your consciousness to new levels of expression and awareness. So just breathe that in. Breathe that in. And if there's something in you that is requiring a healing right now, whatever it is, be it peace of mind, be it healing of your body, be it something in your physical body, just tap into that substance, life, and intelligence. The next one is prosperity, abundance. I like to call it abundance because I think that what we do is that we develop a consciousness of abundance that then demonstrates as prosperity in the outer. But we must take and develop that consciousness of abundance in mind, and then it demonstrates. We must take on an energy, a vibration, a frequency of abundance. So the teachings from Jesus about abundance began to take form in New Thought prosperity teachings. You know, during the time of Jesus, it was thought that, get this, only rich people could have a relationship with God. If you were poor, you were out of luck. So what Jesus kept showing everyone was God is no respecter of person. God is no respecter of person. The sun shines on the rich and the poor. So we have to know that for ourselves. The rain falls on the just and the unjust. He says it's the focus. Jesus said it's the focus you make in your life that makes the difference. How did he say this to us? He said it in the Sermon on the Mount when he said, let your yeses be yes and your nos be no. The more intentional you become, the more you are clear about your yeses and no. Do you believe in the power of healing? Yes or no? Not maybe, could be, well, I tried it. Yes or no? Bring clarity into the space. And the intentionality of your clarity will open magnificent doors for you, because it is the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. It is the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. That's a promise, friends. It's not an idle promise, but it's a promise we have to take into us as a knowing and then as a realization till it becomes embodied in every fabric and fiber of our being, every level, across all systems and levels of our being. You know, it was only till about 4 centuries after Jesus that poverty came to be seen as a godly quality. It's not what Jesus taught. Jesus taught prosperity and abundance. I mean, wow, Sermon on the Mount, all the people, 5,000 people up there, what did he do? He fed them with a couple of fishes and some loaves of bread. A wonderful prosperity demonstration. Every healing is a prosperity abundance demonstration. Miracles occur in our lives, friends. Miracles occur in our lives as we are willing to be open to them. Remember that. I want to just share a little story here about tithing, because I found Unity in 1974. Went to classes under Sig and Janie and all kinds of classes, and loved it. If the doors were open, I was here. But it took me a while to really get this tithing thing. And in 1978, I'm sitting in meditation, and it was Christmas. Around Christmas, I was a single mom, and I heard the words, "It's time to tithe." And I kind of stopped and went, "What?" I heard it again. It's time to tithe. And it was kind of like, you can't be talking to me. It's Christmas. It's Christmas. And then when I heard it the third time, I said, okay, all right, if it's time to tithe. So when I got my paycheck, the first thing I did was write out that tithe check to Unity. I was like, okay, God, this is your money. This is yours. I don't have anything to do with it, but I know that it is Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. I know it to the core of my being. I believe it. Help thou my unbelief. And do you know, within 3 months, I had over $15,000 come to me from a life insurance policy. 3 months later, it so freed up and gave me a sense of freedom, but I haven't stopped tithing and giving since then. In fact, I believe you cannot outgive God. I believe it with every ounce of my being, every ounce. And then the last piece, the last one that I want to speak to, I call it the mystery, but it's really about prayer. It's about meditation. It's about being willing to dance at the edge of mystery, because all of those things lead you to faith, to trust, to be willing to not know. One of our greatest holdbacks is we think we have to know everything and we have to have it so precisely. And if we don't know, we're fearful of not knowing. But true surrender, true humility comes when we're willing to dance at the edge of mystery and to say, I don't know, but God's will knows. And I'm willing to allow God's will to lead and to be that. But you got to do your prayer work. You got to do your meditation. You got to have that prayed up sense of within you. And then you will be led through conscious action as to what to do next. You know, it's mysterious in the ways that the energy of that Christ vibration, that Christ frequency moves through us. That spirit, that essence flows through us and invites us. It gives us nudges. It's embedded intuition in us. And it invites all types of things to happen. I call this capacity of the mystery of that prayer, meditation, the unknown. I call the things that happen from it, I call them synchro divinities, synchro divine events. And what that means is I wrote a book about it actually, is that when you are in alignment with the universe goes before you, truly to prepare the way, to throw open the windows of heaven, and to have magical, mystical things happen to you that you could have never created. The right people, the right place, the right this, the right that. It all comes before you. And you go, well, how did that happen? How did that happen? It happened because you were in alignment. It happened because you gave up judgment, because you gave up attachment, because you gave up resistance, and you became a coherent field of energy for the Christ consciousness to move through, to act through, to teach through in that moment. Fillmore says, right use or wrong use, the law works. I want you to breathe that in for me. Right use or wrong use, the law works. Look around you and you'll see how the law is working in your life. It is spirit that animates the physical matter that we are. You are nothing without spirit. I want you to get that. You are nothing without spirit. It is spirit that animates this physical body so that you may have a soul evolution experience. There's nothing you're doing about it. I don't care whatever you think. Oh, I'm going to eat right. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. If spirit says it's over, it's over. There's nothing you can do about it. But you be present to what your intuitive guidance is, and you follow that guidance. And another part of mystery is another book I wrote. It's called Conscious Neutrality. The mystery of taking on a higher dimensional awareness of being able to be the presence and the state of all is well, regardless of what's going on around you, without being rocked and moved. We have to practice it every day, but it works. It works. So, in closing, I want to give a quote from Emerson. We see the universe as solid. God sees it as liquid law. I'll say that again. We see the universe as solid. God sees it as liquid law. And Ephesians 3:5 says, this mystery was never disclosed to human beings in past generations, as it has now been revealed to his holy apostles and prophets by the Holy Spirit. You see, Jesus ushered in an era of mystery, awe, and wonder. He supported his disciples in discovering that same thing. So, first century Christianity, Jesus' teachings, Christianity, and Jesus' teachings support conscious evolution through the practical application of one presence, one power, prosperity, forgiveness, equality, and all of the other things that we talked about. So, as an action item for this week, I invite you to choose one of the teachings we talked about today and just focus on it for 1 week. See the healing in all you meet. See the Christ in all you meet. Love unconditionally in all you meet. Be interested in something more interesting than what appears to be happening in front of you. Practice seeing the presence, practice being the presence. Practice being that living example. And you will see a change in your life like that. God bless you all. Thank you.
Surely we can find our way into love, the love we were created from. Don't be frightened by the love you feel. Just know what you feel is real, so real. Just follow your heart and step into love. Conjure all the love you have and spread it all over the world. It's alright. It's alright. You can have consciousness to live in higher consciousness. It's alright when we truly love ourselves. We can then love somebody else. Secrets of wisdom are ours to have and to hold. Yes, revelations, joy-filled hours, they never grow old. Oh, love is the key. Love unconditionally. I know you've heard it all before. We can do more, so much more. It's alright. It's alright. It's alright to live in higher consciousness. It's alright, you. It's alright, you. It's alright to live in higher consciousness. Ooh, it's alright. We can learn to love one another. It's alright, yeah.
We've had some great messages today in word and in song. And so we are grateful. Our offering blessing. I'd invite you to join me and these words, let them be your words. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, and all the good I give and receive. I am grateful. And so we are grateful for your donations, for your love offerings. You can go to unitysanleandro.org. There's a donate button there, and we are most appreciative of your support. Your support in many ways, in prayer and in volunteering and your financial gifts. So thank you. We see you abundantly prospered in every good way. For our announcements, we will have at 12 noon, we have our virtual coffee hour. You can go to our website, unitysanleandro.org, and click on the coffee cup with the whipped cream, this heart-shaped whipped cream there, and click on that. That'll take you right into our virtual coffee hour. It's Let's Connect, so you can come for 5 minutes or for the whole hour. Then we have on Tuesday mornings at 9 a.m., we have a prosperity group that that has been quite successful. I'll use the word successful. So join us. That you can do the same thing. Go to, that's Pacific time, by the way. You can go to unitysanleandro.org and click on the coffee cup. It will bring you right into the discussion at 9 a.m. on Tuesday mornings, Pacific time. And then Wednesday evenings, we have from 6:30 to 7 Pacific time, we have Mastermind Prayer. And it has been also successful. So that's Pacific time. You go to unitysanleandro.org, click on that coffee cup, and it brings you right into the Mastermind Prayer. All right. So have a wonderful week this week. Remember that the light of God surrounds you and the love of God enfolds you. The power of God protects you and the presence of God watches over you. Wherever you are, God is. And let's do that for us. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. And all is well. Let there be peace on earth. And have a wonderful